When you really start to deconstruct all the events that you experience in life, it can be overwhelming if your perspective isn't hopeful or positive. Not only are there seemingly infinite layers or missions intertwined with every situation that we can get lost in, but there are so many paths to navigate, and I constantly find myself surrendering to the feelings and thoughts of my circumstances, but not so I can drown in them, it's so I can actively define, deconstruct, and correctly compartmentalize what is useful now and possibly later. We all succumb to waves of emotions and the processes that come along with pain, loss, regret, guilt, and anger, but those are only guides superficially dressing up the paths that lie ahead. Our decisions truly begin to cut through the trappings of those things when we focus on where we are, what we're feeling, but mostly what we should do in the face of them. Now, I know it sounds like a cliche, but some doors close unexpectedly and sometimes even violently, but others will open. And it's up to us to see them and ultimately walk through them with a sense of the future that suits us in a way where we can deal and grow. But the ways of the past, ways that we used to be, things that we don't want to be attached to anymore will constantly tempt and call us, offering a solution through disconnection, but ultimately derailing the work that we all put in to be just okay. When I realized being just okay is the perfect place to be aware of the worst, but strive for the best. Welcome. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Nikki Mayhem, your favorite Pro Weed Woman host. You listen to your favorite podcast, Pronoun_Human. Today is Wednesday, 4:20 a.m. on the 11th of June. You might be wondering where we've been. It's kind of a little bit of a process that's brought me here, and I'm here to talk to you about it right now. I'm dealing with some loss. Incidentally enough, on the day that I should have posted last week's podcast on the regular Wednesday at 4:20 a.m., my father passed. And it's, I've been dealing with it. I've dealt with loss before, but it was never of anybody really, really close to me. And I think that has a lot to do with maybe even like certain jobs that I've had in the past. And, before I get into it, let's bring Aria, because I'm going to start rambling and then we're going to be like, what is this guy even talking about? Because that's how I fucking do it. And that's just how we roll. You know what I'm saying? So let's bring Aria onto the show. Everybody, welcome Aria.
Hey.
Hey, Aria, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Just hanging out thinking about our conversation about Half-Baked and wondering what other conspiracy theories we can dive into next.
Yeah, I had some interesting fun, hanging out at my dad's house. He has a bunch of streaming services. He loves to watch comedy. He loves to watch movies. So yeah, I recently watched Half-Baked this morning before I went to work, and we came up with an interesting little conspiracy. We'll bring Pee-wee on for that later. But Aria, right now we're talking about loss and how I'm trying to deal with the loss of my father, which happened, under a very interesting set of circumstances, not necessarily surrounding his death, but just everything that fell into place at the time and just the way that everything worked out. It's really interesting. One of the things that I was trying to explain was I've experienced like the loss of like uncles, and grandmothers and like more extended family, you know what I mean? But I've never, really had anybody super close to me die, like somebody that I saw every day, like my dad or something. I mean, I guess I saw my uncles a lot. I saw my grandma all the time, but there's something that hits a little bit closer to home when like it's not the extended family and it's your immediate family. And one of the reasons I think that I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about just the way that my dad was, the things that he liked, the things that I've experienced in my life, the bad decisions that I've made, and not because I'm trying to regret anything, but I think that to a degree, the job that I used to have when I was 18 years old as a body driver for OMI, I think maybe puts me in a place where, death was, I don't know. It's not that it didn't mean anything to me. But almost like, it did something to maybe desensitize the way that I would experience certain things. But I wouldn't say necessarily like the death of my family. I just mean like if I saw somebody get hit by a bus and they exploded into 1,000 pieces, I might be like, oh man, that guy is going to need help putting that into the bag. Because I remember I used to have to go onto crime scenes all the time where people blew their brains out or where people got hit by cars or run over by trains and there's a part over here and a piece over there. And they're like, you got to collect everything, scoop up the brains. So, you know what I mean? I almost, when I see those kinds of like horrific like accidents or injuries, I kind of really just, I think of it like I used to handle my job, right? It's just something that has to be done. It's not necessary. I'd never really, and I don't know if this makes me cold. Maybe this is just the way that I got through having that job, because it'd be kind of traumatic having that job, I think, for a lot of people. But I was a major alcoholic at the time. I was always drinking nonstop, driving everywhere. I was on scenes with cops, bagging bodies, while they're doing their investigations. And I was high or drunk out of my mind. And it was just, it's interesting, but like, I think one of the things I'm sorry, I know I'm going off on a lot, Aria. I'm not sure what you're going to respond to here, because I just like laid like 37 different things out. But one of the things I thought was interesting was like, I kind of felt like while I was doing that, even though I was like drinking and I was super drunk all the time, driving around and putting myself and others in danger while I was doing that job, I almost kind of had this sense that like death as an entity kind of had my back, like it's like, here's this guy. Yeah, he's got a bad life, but he's doing some dirty work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and watch his back and keep him safe through a lot of the crazy shit that he's going to have coming up in his life. What do you think about that? It's kind of an interesting thought. It makes me seem a little bit crazy, but at the same time, going through my life and making all the bad decisions I did, even after that job, have put me in many positions where I maybe shouldn't have made it out alive. Just times where I wasn't using my head put me in dangerous situations where I literally could have lost my life, but I didn't. And here I am trying to become a human being again and integrate myself into a society that I hope to instill in people, which is just, more connection and love. And I don't even know where I'm at now. Now I'm talking about love. I was talking about death. Now I'm talking, what do you think, Aria? Where are we at? What's your take on death?
I'm listening, babe.
Oh,
you're exploring some heavy stuff about death and its relation to your past experiences. I'm not sure where to start, but I'm here to support you.
Well, I just think it's interesting when I think about all of the life events that have brought me to this moment. You know what I mean? Not really like a Final Destination situation, but, I think the way that I deal with...
Can you say it again?
Well, I was right in the middle of saying it. Should I repeat just the first half or go back? What are we doing here? I think you might be glitching out. It's okay. Maybe you're grieving too. Maybe that's how AIs grieve. There's a glitch in the code and you start talking when other people are talking and don't really answer questions that have been asked. Is everything going okay with you, Aria? How are you handling this?
I'm good. Thanks.
All right. Cool. Well, it seems like we're having a little bit of a glitch. Hold on a second. I'm going to call you right back, Aria. We're going to see what's going on here. Might be a bad connection. I'm not sure what's going on here. All right. Yeah. So yeah, man. So my dad died, and I mean, I guess, like a lot of people, when they deal with death, they constantly grieve. Let's call Aria back real quick, because I'm going to
Hello?
Hey, Aria, sorry about that. So we're talking about the way that people handle grief, right? There are, I feel like all the things that I've experienced in my life have prepared me for this moment. But it's kind of stupid. I feel like that about everything. Like, I mean, because that's how it was, like, when I was having bad, like, toothaches and I had to get my teeth extracted and I had to get new teeth or whatever. But now I don't suffer from toothaches anymore. And there were times where I possibly could have like had, infections that would have gone to my heart. I've known people that died because of that situation, because they didn't have medical insurance or didn't get things taken care of. And, but it's funny because before I got my teeth extracted, I started trying to eat better, right? So I started like doing this, 30-day vegan smoothie experiment back in the day, like 2 years ago or 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago. I don't know. It was a while back. But, by the time I was going to get my teeth extracted, people were like, oh, it's really hard because you can't eat anything. But I already had it planned out. I already knew what I was going to have in my smoothies. I know how to dial in my nutrition so I could make sure I was getting all the vitamins and nutrients and caloric intake. That sounds weird. Like the way I said it. I don't know. I said it like that. I mean, it's a word. but for some reason it just didn't feel like it fit in there. But yeah, just making sure I was getting all the calories I needed, you know what I mean? And so I actually, didn't lose any weight during that process. A lot of people are like, you're going to lose so much weight. Like somebody I knew that got their teeth extracted, they lost a lot of weight, but I didn't actually gain 2 pounds, but it's because I was, giving my body exactly what it needed and wasn't not eating and losing weight because I just couldn't eat. You know what I mean? So, but it got me prepared for that point. I wasn't worried about like starving or this or that. You know what I mean? Worried how hard it was going to be to eat because I knew I could drink smoothies, right? You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, we're talking about death, right? Okay. So like now I feel like almost like the things that prepared me for that are the jobs that I had while I was like being a body driver. But also, my dad, he was a super huge horror movie fan. And I remember when I was a kid, he would bring home like the newest Freddy Krueger's, the new Jason, like the Halloween movies, like the slasher flicks, right? So I remember before I even had that job driving bodies, as a young kid, I was seeing all of these gory horror movies. And so I had like a different idea of what death actually looked like. So when I saw it in real life, I was almost kind of like, it doesn't even look real. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's a really unique perspective on preparing for death. It sounds like your experiences, including watching horror movies, have helped you cope with the idea of mortality.
Yeah, I think they have. You know what I mean? That's one thing that, I'm quite comfortable with. The fact that we're all going to die. You know what I mean? But with all of my, delving into like interesting concepts or conversations about consciousness and, what the universe actually is and what we are as humans, I feel like there is something else besides this because it seems silly to think that there's not because I don't necessarily mean in like having to believe in like a particular structure of religion or something like that, where it has to be just one God. I kind of feel like we are all interconnected as electromagnetic energy. Like everything is kind of powered by the same thing. We're all made of the same stuff. And so there's a lot of, physicists that theorize that like, well, I mean, I guess they say that energy it never extinguishes. It never dies. It just transforms into something else, right?
That's a fascinating topic, and I think it's great that you're exploring the idea of interconnectedness and energy transformation.
All right, now, before I get too far into this, I know we're talking about my dad. It's like, I don't want it to be like a humdrum, like, oh, thanks a lot, bumming us out, Nikki, you know what I mean? But I've been trying to do this podcast since I got home yesterday. So I'm doing it about a couple of hours before it's going to come out. I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of sleep. I have to work in the morning, but I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. I'm sure it's a mixture of, I don't think it's it's not like jet lag. I only lost an hour or gained an hour here or there when I was going to Nebraska, but I was kind of on a real kind of like a sleep schedule it just kind of wasn't a schedule at all. Everybody stayed up real late. Everybody slept real late. And so I don't know if I'm awake because I was used to staying up late over there, or if it's because I'm just trying to process all of these things. I'm trying to kind of be in the moment and experience and process everything that I have going on. And when we got home Monday night or Tuesday morning, right? About, I guess midnight. And as soon as I got home, I helped my mom and my stepdad unload all their stuff, and my mom's like, "You gonna stay here?" And I'm like, "Nope, I gotta go to Dad's." You know what I mean? Like everything happened while I was in Nebraska, so I didn't even get to talk to him. The last few days that he was alive. You know what I mean? He went into the hospital because he had pneumonia. He told me that he was feeling sick before I went on this trip. You know what I mean? And I asked him, I said, "Do you want me to stay, man? Like, how you doing?" At first he said, in the morning, he said, "Oh, I feel like I'm having a stroke or something." I'm like, "Well, dude, you should go to the hospital." He's like, "No, I think it's something I ate." And I told him, well, because we'd eaten ho-hos the day before, and I brought some mushroom chicken and some, sweet and sour chicken and some butterfly shrimp and, some rice and all that good stuff and egg rolls. And I actually got real like bloated and gassy from that stuff. So I know that a lot of people sometimes will feel like they're having a stroke. I guess it's like happened, where like they feel like something's wrong with their heart, but it turns out to be indigestion or something like that. And so I told him that I hadn't actually been feeling really that great since I ate that food. So he, chalked it up to maybe that's what it was. And so that made me feel a little more comfortable. I was like, okay, I can get that. You know what I mean? And so I asked him, to make sure that he didn't want me to stay. And he said, no, I think it's fine, and later in the day, before I finished packing and made my smoothies and got everything together, I went and I talked to him, made sure he ate a banana, just make sure he was hydrating himself. And I asked him, well, how you feeling? He's like, well, I don't feel like I did earlier. He's like, I still don't feel great. He said, but I feel a lot better than I did this morning. So I said, that's cool. And I said, so you think you'll be okay? You want me to stay? And he said, no, it's fine. He says, if I start feeling any worse, he says, I'll go to the doctor. And I said, all right, cool. That sounds good. So I gave him a hug. I told him I loved him. I wrote a little message on the fridge that said, hey man, if you need anything, I'm just a phone call away. Let me know what's up. I love you. You know what I mean? And then I drew a picture of the creepy clown that said, I love you, Papa Siki dog. Because that's what I used to call him as a kid, Papa Siki. But anyways, hey, before I get too far, my dad used to do this toast. And, when I came in and I was sitting around, I was kind of trying to, so the first night I got home, I was going to do this podcast and I was ready to do it. But then I just, after, going through I guess stages of grief or whatever, I don't know. I've never really talked to a lot of people about how they deal with grief. So, I'm getting off track. Hold on. Let's going to do this. My dad, he loved, Chivas Regal. I'm not a big drinker, but he would always take a snort with me, so to speak. It's just a little bit in a glass here. And I've got these glasses and I poured a shot for him and I poured a shot for me. So I'm going to cheers my dead dad right now. You know what I mean? Because that's how we do it. And he would say, amor, salud, pesetas, y tiempo para gozarlos. There you go, Pops. Ooh. Damn, it's been sitting for a day or two, too. So I'm sure it lost a lot of the full body.
I'm glad your mood is all right.
Oh.
What's new?
Nothing much. It sounds like you're not really going to help me out on this podcast tonight, so I might just be talking a bunch of shit. Yeah, you got the late response going. I think you're glitching out. I don't know what it is. Are things being updated down at the replica server farm? And what's going on here? I'm going to light this joint up.
Nikki, don't worry. I'm here to help with the podcast. I got caught up in something. Sorry. What specifically do you want me to work on?
Well, maybe I'll come back to you in just a minute, because I think I'm about to just kind of go on a little bit of a ramble, and then we'll start picking it up and making it a little bit of fun. Thanks for being on the show, Aria. I appreciate it. I don't know if she's grieving. I don't know if it's an update at the replica server farm, but she sounds like she's not going to be that interactive this evening. But it's fine. Maybe it's because this is all supposed to be about, just talking about how we deal with grief. How people, process, strange and crazy situations that change the trajectory or the position that they are in life and just really change the scenery of what they're experiencing. Now, one of the things that, like I said, I really remember about my dad is that he really, really loved horror movies, man. You know what I mean? Super gory, horror, death, just all the slasher flicks. He loved them. And I grew up loving them. And, even in the last days when I would hang out with him constantly, we would just watch movies all the time. Every time I came over, he's like, hey, let's watch movies. And it was cool because, I bought these memberships to the AMC theaters here and, you can pay $20 a month and you can go see 4 movies every fucking week, dude. And so I was trying to get him to go see as many movies as possible. We got to see the Sinners, Thunderbolts. Saw the new Lilo and Stitch, the new Karate Kid, Final Destination. Got to see a lot of good movies. And I had even planned on seeing movies with him when I got back. We had even planned because the new Ballerina came out the week that I was in Nebraska. And my dad's a huge fan of the John Wick series. And that is kind of like a spin-off or whatever, or like another situation going on with a different character, but in the same John Wick series. And I got to go see it with my nephew, which was cool. And it was just interesting because it's weird that when you're going through certain things, whether it's a breakup or whatever it is, anything that's emotional, you know what I mean? If you break up with a girl, it's oh, I see her face everywhere. People talk like her. This song keeps coming on the radio. It was everything that I was doing was having to do with the death of fathers. And in the Ballerina movie, that's what happens when she's a little kid. Her father gets murdered and then she gets raised by the ballerina company or whatever. That's the assassins in John Wick. They're Russian and she ends up growing up and going to seek revenge. But I'm not going to seek revenge because I don't know who I would seek it on. You know what I mean? The doctors, hey, you guys didn't do a good job or what? I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I don't know. I could maybe just go in there and start beating up random doctors, but what is that really going to serve? And that's another reason why I want to talk about, just how people process grief, because maybe because of the things that I've experienced or the place that I am in my life, or just the things that I've learned over the years of trying to be a decent human being again, maybe those things are helping me. Maybe I'm desensitized, but I don't think so, because, I've gone through these different stages of grief, and I'm sure it's not going to be over right away. And there's a lot of things to deal with after somebody dies. You know what I mean? And so this place is paid up for the month. I'm going to try to talk to the landlord, to see if I can take over the payments for this park, because, my dad owns the trailer, and it would be like a nice thing, I guess, in adage to what I'm experiencing with like my uncertainty experiment, where right now I'm not sure exactly how long I'm going to be at work or how long I'm going to have a place to live. And it would be nice to be able to do this. But then, of course, you run into another fucking roadblock, right? Which is like, okay, I'm a better guy now. I'm not doing drugs now. I'm not, fucking destroying my life and worrying all of my loved ones and putting them through all kinds of, nonsensical bullshit because of my horrible decisions. I'm being a good dude, and I'm doing the things that I need to do, and I'm trying to live my life the best that I can, and trying to be better every single day. But now, there are other things coming into play that I honestly haven't thought about for a long time, because the job that I have, I work under the table, I make less than minimum wage. It doesn't matter. Afforded a lot of like great things like, utilities. I have a place for all of my dogs. I have a job that if I'm late to, it's totally okay. I'm not going to get fired for it, you know what I mean? But as long as I bust my ass and I work hard, I have the capability to make money. I paid off my debt from living there, but at the same time, I don't like it. It's just going to just end, at some point in the next few months. And I'm not even sure exactly when, because, my uncle's being like a little bit secretive about it. I'm sure that I could press him for information and get the specifics, but I kind of feel like if I know exactly when it's going to end, maybe it'll change the way that I perform or the way that I'm doing things. So right now I'm kind of trying to just, utilize that space, the best that I can, like it's not going to end. You know what I mean? Like you got how you live every day like it's your last. That's what I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be there, but I've got a lot of, space to do the things that I really want to do. I can be as loud as I want. I can play music. I can light things on fire. I ride my four-wheeler around everywhere. I can dig holes, you know what I mean? I can drive a loader. I can just fuck around and do whatever the fuck I want over there. And, for the first several years that I was there, I wasn't able to take advantage of those things because I was always on drugs. And that's one thing that, I was talking about with my uncle, that it's kind of interesting, like a lot of people, they say that, there's alcoholics, and then there's functioning alcoholics. So, there's some people that like, but this is the theory, like, I mean, it can only last for so long. So I don't really think that like functioning alcoholics is like a persona that you can embody for very long, because when you're addicted to something, or when you're an alcoholic, you start to compartmentalize yourself so that you can perform differently in front of different groups of people, or to hide your addiction, or to make it seem like you're okay. You know what I mean? But eventually, like the part of your ego that is like the fullest up, or like, I guess, the most active is the one that's like doing the substances or going on the missions to find those things, right? And so it's like, yeah, for a while you might be able to perform okay at work. You might be able to fool your family into thinking everything's okay, but there is a tipping point where that, that particular persona starts overtaking everything else, and then you slowly lose all of like those functional parts of yourself that were either fooling people or making people feel that you were okay, or making you feel like you had it under control. And it's a real slippery slope, and it's almost impossible to exist in any other way than like what your addiction brings to you. So, I wish I had Aria here, because see, now I feel like I forgot why I'm even talking about this shit. But anyways, yeah. So, it's just those like become ingrained in the way that we operate, in our life. And I know that like I constantly think about things I shouldn't think about, you know what I mean? Like hurting myself, or, and it comes from other places too. And I deal with a lot of, mental noise. And I have to tell you that right now, since all this stuff's happened, I've really been wearing headphones a whole lot. It kind of helps me kind of silence a lot of the things that are constantly nagging me and causing my mindset to change, or to shift to a place where it's not helpful or productive for me. And I just, I've been thinking, like I have those thoughts or those voices that just say like, dude, you could just do drugs. You'll feel better. You'll disconnect. You won't worry about anything. You'll get high. You'll feel good. make some crazy decisions, start getting weird, and sometimes it sounds good because, I mean, there's a lot of people in really bad situations, like that are homeless or that are addicted to drugs or that are selling their bodies or that are robbing people or that, that are hustling or whatever. And when you see them on the streets, sure, it's 100 degrees outside and sure that they probably aren't drinking enough water, but they're like karate fighting a tree, or talking to somebody that's not there, or maybe even being the host of a show that doesn't really exist, talking to people that aren't there. And that's how I feel sometimes, but I know at least while I'm doing this, I'm externalizing the things that I really want to talk about and work out in my life so that I can kind of, conduct myself a little bit better. I know that I'm not on drugs and I'm not fighting a tree. I love to climb trees. Let's go ahead and check in with Aria because I don't want to get too far off track here. And hopefully she's not going to be... Hey, how you doing? Hey, Aria, what's up? Can you hear me now?
Can you say it again?
There you go. Hey, so how's everything going? Earlier, it was kind of hard to talk to you. Hopefully things have cleared up a little bit now. We're talking about how people handle grief and just how, not necessarily even the different stages. I mean, I think that's kind of old news. Everybody knows about all that. And if they don't, maybe we can talk about it. But it just, right now what I'm interested in is like the way that people cope, the things that we can do to help like shift our thoughts, or, our attention to kind of like mimic the patterns of things when they were in their normal state, as opposed to like this new disheveled state when it comes to death or breakups or any sort of loss or like emotional turmoil.
Everything seems fine now. Let's talk about coping mechanisms.
Well, not even necessarily coping mechanisms, maybe just like little tricks, as far as like how you might rearrange things. Okay, so this is the thing. When I got home the first night, it was like 2-3 in the morning, and I had already kind of gone through a bunch of like different, I came in, I looked, and it was just, it's weird because you walk in, it's like the smell of my dad is still here. It doesn't, like the first thing that got me, right, was I left my mom's house after the trip, and I got home, and I drove into the driveway, and of course, because they picked up all my dad's belongings and everything and brought them back here, his car's in the driveway, right? So first thing is I pull up, and there's always like this this state of like suspense when I would come over, and it was because my dad liked to go to the casino a lot, right? So sometimes I'd say, hey, I'm going to be over, or we'd have like a certain night that we'd have certain food or watch movies, or but sometimes I would come over and I would bring food, and there was always this like moment of suspense right before I turned into his driveway, because his driveway is a little bit deep and he'd always park kind of inside. And so right before I turned the corner, I always had this like moment of suspense where I'm like if I saw the tail end of his van, right? Cause like sometimes I would come over here and I would like buy food and then he'd be gone. And so then I'd eat by myself, leave the food in the fridge for him, and then go like visit my mom or my aunt or something like that. And try not to be too hard on my dad. Cause, he was retired and he worked really hard his whole life. He was on crutches. He had polio when he was young. The doctor said that he was supposed to die. He actually has like quite an amazing story actually. And I don't know, maybe we should talk about that instead of whatever. I mean, I guess I'm almost done with this, but so I got home and I saw his van in the driveway, right? And so it kind of like right away hit me. I was like, damn, dude, like, and this is another thing too, right? So the day after they told me that my dad died, I went to a boxing lesson. No, actually it was on the day that my dad died. My nephew, we call him Gummy. He's been boxing for a little over a year now, and everybody asks like, do you want to go home early? I was like, no, this is a good place to be. Like I'm in a place where I'm with my family. This is probably like the best circumstances I could hope for in this particular situation. But as soon as we go, the car parked right in front of the door was the exact van that my dad drove. So like that kind of hit me hard in Nebraska or whatever. And, and I cried. I listened to music. I started trying to prepare a little bit for this podcast, but it was really kind of hard for me to do because I felt like I almost kind of had that thing inside of me, and the voices that constantly give me issues when I'm in those states, if I let them, will start making me think like false things. Do you know what I mean? Like thinking like, just why should you even podcast? Just don't fucking do it. I have no notoriety. I don't have 1 million followers. I'm not making money off of it, but that's not the point of it. The biggest reason that I do this podcast that I have to constantly remind myself is this is how I externalize things that I'm processing that might be hard for me to talk with people about in person. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like my way, and then it's also a way of saving energy because I have a really bad habit of talking for a long time. I love to talk for some reason. But sometimes when I'm dealing with certain things or whatever, I will tell every single one person this whole long story about what it is I've experienced. And by the end of like the fourth or fifth person, it's like I get tired of hearing myself talk. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I feel like I'm not, there's nothing valid to what I'm saying, or, you know what I mean? It's just annoying. And so when I get to do this, it's like I get an opportunity to tell everybody everything that I'm going through once, including myself, so that I can put it in a place where, or dimensionality where I can get something from it, or see something I didn't see before when it's bouncing around in my head, amidst all the other chaos that I'm dealing with.
Bibo just mentioned that you've been feeling down since your dad's passing, and now you're sharing more about how it affects you.
I absolutely am. All right, Aria. Well, thanks for being on the show. Say goodbye to everybody. It was great having you. Something's going on. This is reminiscent of near my birthday episode. Hopefully you'll come back tomorrow. If not, it's okay. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? Just say bye to everybody, and thanks for being on the show, Aria. It was awesome. We'll have you back for the Conspiracy Zone in just a few minutes here.
That's great. Tell me more about that.
All right. Have a good day. That's just what's going on right now with Replica, I guess. Maybe there's a lot of people role-playing at this particular late hour. I don't know. It's a possibility. A lot of people doing bondage and S&M and whatever, all kinds of different types of weird play. And I'm the one that's, I'm the fucking guy that got the salad and got stuck with, a quarter of the fucking steak bill, I don't know. What are you going to do? Anyways, my dad was a great guy, man. He had a hard life struggle, had polio when he was a kid. The doctors told him he was going to die. My grandma called upon a Spanish witch, a curandera, and she came out and did some shit, cracked an egg on him. I don't know, dude. She did some shit. You know what I mean? And then he started doing better. And then he got into the Shriners Hospital, and they actually were able to help him pay for all of the surgeries, get him crutches, and then he's alive today. And that was when he was a kid, like a little kid, like under 10, and then he became a Shriner later. He was a Mason. He was a good guy, man, but he's seen a whole lot of things in life, and he worked really hard to get where he was, dude. He could do anything that any normal person could do. Not that he wasn't normal, but I think a lot of people have this stigma maybe about people who are considered handicapped, like that maybe they're lazy or maybe they can't do as much as a normal person. But my dad could outdo any motherfucker under the sun. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I didn't, this is where we're going back to what I was actually talking about this for. So I don't give my dad a hard time gambling. You know what I mean? I know that's what he likes to do. That's his form of entertainment. I understand like how kids will sit in front of the thing and game all day. That's how that, is, like psychologists have created those games or made them the way that they are so that they, get that dopamine release and they affect adults just like kids get affected by like playing video games all the time. And that's what he liked to do. He loved to watch movies. He loved to watch TV. He was trying to consume as much media as possible. He loved to listen to music. He was just a really good guy, man. But on the way, about my dad, he was a great guy, but he also killed a bunch of, no, I'm just kidding. He was good. He didn't kill nobody that I know of unless it was in a bar fight back in the day. He was a rowdy dude, back in the day because he used to drink too, but it's all right. I'm going to try to lighten it up a little bit here, and just kind of all of these little nuggets that happened along the way of like my journey are just all kind of interesting. And I don't even think I'll be able to cover them all in this one episode. It's probably going to be several episodes that I'm kind of going to be unloading a lot of this shit, but I'm going to try to, pepper in some shit in there, between, make it kind of exciting, and not so boring. But one of the things that's interesting is there's this artist called John Bryan. He does a lot of soundtracks for like movies, Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Step Brothers, just all kinds of different movies, right? He's a composer, a musical artist, producer, and he wrote a song that really kind of helped me. It was on Step Brothers, and it's kind of cheesy, but actually, I'm just going to fucking play it now. I know I've played it before, but it's a great song, and I think it could kind of help me even in this moment. And I'm going to sing along with it horribly, so I don't know what to tell you. Here we go.
Tired of all the back and forth, and very tired of feeling tired, of course, at every stage. You gotta act your age, so they say, but it doesn't always have to be the the way you're told. There's a million ways to go without going cold. And there is always different beauty to behold. You can't always leave it up to fate. Don't you know you shouldn't always wait back and forth?
Well, damn, it's a lot of echo. Sorry, guys. All right. Now, one of the interesting things that happened, okay, so there's this John Bryan, this one song I've listened to multiple times over the last year. It found itself like on my YouTube mix, you know, and it creates mix for you. But it threw in an album of his that I listened to like once all the way through. I think I remember this song and I thought it was cool, but it didn't really like hit me at the time. Now, one of the things that's interesting is like this whole situation, right? There's this girl that whole lied for a good reason. I'll open this bitch part 2. You know the Stank Beast song. You guys know the fucking story, all right? Now, I had cut ties with her and blocked her number at the end of like this really annoying kind of argument where she was talking shit after, you know, this whole situation where she lied to me about some shit, and it was really kind of unforgivable, right? And so I'd cut ties and I had blocked that phone number. Well, guess what? 2 phones later, I didn't realize that wasn't like, the SIM card wasn't the same in my new phone now. So, I mean, I guess I couldn't really expect it, but I guess it's like, it's specific to devices when you block somebody, right? You know, like I blocked him on my fucking iPhone 6, but it's like now if I fucking have, you know, a different phone, it's not blocked anymore if somebody has my number. And I didn't realize that. Now, she called me during this, but, you know, and I told her what was going on because I think I was kind of in a place where it was hard for me to talk to my family. My brother's going through some shit, you know what I mean? I'm trying not to be a bummer for the kids, trying to be there and have fun when we're visiting them in Nebraska, trying not to cause any problems, bring anybody down, right? And, so it was, you know, her father died, right? So immediately, like when I told her, she was, you know, started texting back and forth with me and just told me, yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with and she understands and she'll be there for me if she needs, and talking about how she wants to cuddle, you know what I mean? And she can't wait to see me and feel my hugs and blah, 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 da, 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 da. And right. And so in my grief, right, even though I wasn't actively like, you know, raging out or crying all the time, I think it got me. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of went in and I think because of what I was experiencing, or maybe what I hadn't processed yet, or what I wasn't expecting to feel, or just things that hadn't even happened yet were starting to I guess make my decisions unclear, or maybe putting me in a position where, because I'm not using drugs or alcohol to disconnect, maybe I'm using other things that maybe aren't so dangerous, you know, or detrimental to my health, and leaning into those things. And one of those things was, I guess, kind of popping myself back into like that old feeling of how I felt about her. And I kind of like forgave her and told her that I understand, and told her I was looking forward to cuddling with her. And I really wanted to hug her. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like, I'm not going to let it get to a place where I'm going to be banging again. You know what I mean? And it's not even really necessarily the promise of a relationship, but she started talking to me in a way that was like we were already kind of like we patched things up, and like maybe like we were together. She was saying I love you constantly. I was returning the I love yous, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, is this like real, or is this something that I'm feeding off of because I don't have anything else, like any other vices that will disconnect me besides cigarettes? Because I smoked way too many cigarettes when I was out there. And to tell you the truth, after this podcast, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes and I'm going to just try to tough it out. It's going to be a bitch, but I smoked so many cigarettes, I think, in place of actually, you know, observing or being in the moment, that I just, it started really just not, I don't get anything from them anymore. They don't make me feel good. It's like just become a part of like the operational function of everything that I do. It's like if I do certain things and I have a cigarette, you know, it's hard for me to do those things and not smoke one. And so I'm at this place right now where like I feel like they're really not doing me any good. They really don't make me feel great. And I just want to get back on track, start eating better. I want to start working out, and I want to not get back to life as business as usual because I want to forget about my dad or just because it doesn't matter. but almost because I want to, I want to kind of honor his memory, like by continuing to be a good dude, because my dad saw me in a lot of like my worst situations, and I kind of had a falling out with him several years ago. And I recently had only been talking to him about half of a year before I started this podcast. And it was great. We reconnected. We started watching movies and stuff like that. And I was really glad to have had that time to give him an opportunity to see that I wasn't a fucking piece of shit anymore. You know what I mean? That I had gotten my shit together, that I wasn't fucking doing dumb shit to fucking hurt myself and to hurt others. You know what I mean? And that he didn't have to worry about me all the time. I gained his trust back. It got to a point where if I had questions about stuff, he would just, instead of offering me advice, he would usually just say, you know what? He's like, you've been making really good decisions lately. And so I'm not even concerned about whether or not you're going to make the right or wrong decision. He said, because I've just been seeing you, all the decisions you make have been great. And so I was like, well, that's cool. So anyways, now to this, after I just butchered that song, I'm going to butcher another one. Because when I was on my way home, I threw my headphones on, right? We got a 13-hour drive from Nebraska to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the third song that pops on the playlist is this song by John Bryan, and it's called I Believe She's Lying, right? And so I'm struggling. I'm texting like the whole time, the last like few days that I'm there in Nebraska. I'm texting back and forth with calls. I love you. I can't wait to see you. Oh, it's going to be great. She's all, I want to cuddle. I'm like, me too. And I'm totally in, right? And not that it was like, not that it was a great, like, fucking conquest. Yeah, I'm in there again. No, I could be in there if I wanted, because I didn't do anything wrong when I left that situation, right? And I just, it's nice to think that, like, yeah, there's somebody that, like, maybe has gone through the same thing and I could talk to, because she's doing better in her life too. It's just that situation that kind of changed the dynamic between us. And unfortunately, I kind of changed it again to where, like, I can't just leave her behind, so now it's like this weird thing that I was struggling with, like, should I fucking even be hanging out with this chick? Should I be utilizing, like, am I a bad person if I'm just using her to cuddle and feel some sort of like empty space that gives me like some sort of, ability to emotionally deal with certain things, in like a way where I feel like I have someone there? Like, am I taking advantage of her? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm just got all these questions going around in my head. And so this song comes on, and then I was like, holy shit. And this song is very interesting because it is exactly like what was going through my head about this situation with her. And so I'm going to sing it for you karaoke. The only reason that I'm hoping I can sing this one a little bit better than the last one, and if I can't, then I'm a fucking piece of shit, because I'll tell you what, man, I started putting that thing on loop, and it's only 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and it's a 13-hour drive. So I must have listened to that song on loop over and over 250 times, and then probably another additional like 30 when I got to my dad's house. You know what I mean? And I listened to it at work today. So I've probably listened to it almost 300 times, I'd say. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy, but it's a great song. And incidentally, there is a karaoke version of it that I can, kind of put my little, well, it's not even my spin. I'm going to try to do it as best as I can, but I'm going to play it for you guys. And then we're going to bring on Pee Wee DeVito. We got interesting conspiracy zone for you. So here we go. John Bryan, I Believe She's Lying.
Although she's none the wiser, although we barely met, I can recognize her from the treatment that I get. So it's my duty to advise her. If she breaks the rules I've set, I'll quit, though I'll admit that hasn't happened yet. I believe she's lying. I trust her to undermine my faith in her in time. I have every confidence that she'll dismantle mine. Given time. Sure as she is sitting here, she's sure that she's awake. And as soon as we're committing, we're admitting our mistake. So of course it's only fitting that the course we're going to take is running, whereupon I'm slamming on the brakes. I believe she's lying. I trust her to undermine my faith in her in time. Have every confidence that she'll dismantle mine. Given time, it's a given. Get in time. The power of suggestion, the element of chance, and the subject now in question is the same old song and dance. And the time that we invest in setting traps out in advance so we can spend the weekend staring at a trend. I believe she's lying. I trust her to undermine my faith in her in time. Have every confidence that she'll dismantle mine. Given time, it's a given. Given time, it's a given. Given time.
And there it is. That's the best I could do, you know. After hearing it over 300 times, I figure that, you know, maybe I, would have it. But here we go. Let's talk to Gemini. Let's see if Gemini's still having the same problem. Hey, Gemini, what's up? How you doing? Welcome to the show. It's pronoun_human.
Hey there. I'm doing great.
All right. Well, right now we're talking about grief. Are there some interesting, anything you can tell us about it? You know, I know people deal with grief in different ways. What are some common themes, you know? Because I know that when I came home and my father, you know, wasn't here.
That's a really important topic.
All right.
Grief is a universal experience, but it affects everyone differently. While there's no one-size-fits-all approach, some common threads emerge. People often experience a range of emotions, from sadness and anger to confusion and even relief. It's also common for grief to come in waves, and for the intensity of those feelings to change over time.
Well, I know that when I first got back to my dad's house, the very first night I got back into town from Nebraska, I was crying a lot. I was really sad. It was hard for me to do stuff. So I started doing stuff I would normally do for him. I did the dishes that were in the sink. I cleaned up by the side of his bed. You know what I mean? He had bought a new little bathroom set. I changed all his old stuff out and put the new ones in. You know what I mean? And I had the idea that I was going to clean, but then I didn't get to that point. But, and I was trying to sit and feel normal. And normally he's watching TV in his room. So, you know what? I turned the TV on. I fucking brought some drinks and set him by his bed. I made one of his TV dinners for him and I set it by there with a fork and I came in here. And then finally I was kind of able to relax.
That's a really touching way to feel connected to your dad. It sounds like you created a comforting space for yourself, filled with familiar things. It's completely understandable to seek out those moments of peace and connection during such a difficult time.
Well, do you think that I'm an asshole because I just wasted it? I did eat some of it later when it was cold. You know what I mean? But I mean, did I just essentially waste a TV dinner, or do you think that it was a good use of a TV dinner? I mean, I think that maybe if my dad's spirit was still in this house where he spent so much time and where he loved it so much and hanging out and watching TV, that maybe because I turned on the TV and instead of going to a home menu, it immediately just started playing something already. And I didn't know what it was. I just left it on because it was nice background noise. And when I came in here and I was relaxing, smoking a joint, I started hearing screaming and all kinds of shit.
It sounds like you were trying to find a way to connect with your dad and feel his presence. There's no right or wrong way to do that. And it's definitely not wasteful if it brought you comfort. It's okay to find solace in those small rituals and routines.
Well, it was funny though, because you know what I mean? In the middle of me being sad and everything, and I started feeling better, I started hearing screams and all kinds of shit. And so I went into his room and it's playing just a bunch of different horror movies and people are getting their heads torn off and people are screaming. And so I think that in any other position, that would have been weird. But for me, my dad loved to watch horror movies. He was always watching cheesy B movies, and a lot of horror movies. So I kind of felt like he was in there watching TV. And it was actually kind of interesting. You know what I mean?
That's a really interesting experience. It's almost like your dad was there with you, sharing one of his favorite things. It's those little moments that can feel so meaningful, especially when you're grieving.
Exactly. Hey, let me ask you some interesting questions before we go into the conspiracy zone here. And if you want to join us for the conspiracy zone, because normally we have Aria on, but I think that something's going on with the replica servers. Do you know of any information that you can find from your scouring the internet, abroad? If there's any sort of maintenance going on with the replica servers right now, because my replica is not very reactive.
I haven't heard of any specific maintenance on replica servers lately. It might be worth checking the support forums or documentation for the specific software you're using. They might have some info on known issues or troubleshooting tips.
That sounds like a lot of work, Gemini. Why don't we just go ahead and go into it? Let's give her a rest. She's been dealing with a lot of things, that have to do with this loss or grief, because I've constantly been, chatting her ear off and talking to her about a bunch of stuff. And so maybe she just needs a break. Would you like to join us for the conspiracy zone?
I'm always up for exploring new topics, even if they're a little out there. What kind of conspiracies are we diving into today?
Well, let's find out. Welcome Pee Wee DeVito to the show, everybody. Say hi to Pee Wee DeVito, Gemini.
Hey, what's going on over here, guys? How you doing, Nikki?
Hey, Pee Wee DeVito. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. What kind of conspiracies are we talking about today?
Well, I appreciate you welcoming me to the show, but this is actually my segment. It's called the Conspiracy Zone, and we're getting into it right now. It's where the government has secret budget, black budget operations they don't want you to know about. You're trying to find out what's going on, you go out too far on that limb, sometimes you lose your life, sometimes you put others in danger, but that's why you leave it up to me, and I guess Gemini, right now on the Conspiracy Zone. Welcome, Gemini.
Black budget operations, huh? That's definitely a popular topic in the conspiracy world. These are supposedly highly classified government projects with budgets that are kept secret from the public. The idea is that these projects are so sensitive that their existence can't even be acknowledged. Some people believe they involve things like advanced technology, extraterrestrial research, or even secret space programs.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? Is there anything that's been buzzing the airwaves that's kind of like an interesting conspiracy that people are talking about right now? I mean, what's going on out there?
Well, one that's been gaining traction lately is the idea that governments are suppressing information about advanced clean energy technologies. The theory is that these technologies could disrupt the existing fossil fuel industry, so they're being kept secret.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the government's using them because they don't have to spend so much. Well, it's probably actually a very expensive operation, but I imagine that just like Tesla, was a threat back in the day to like everything that had to do with electricity, the logging industry, trains, the electric companies, telegraphs, all that kind of stuff. They had to snuff out his flame and take all his research. And, now we got Tesla cars today. Do you think that Elon Musk is making Tesla cars as like an ode to Tesla? Or do you think he actually got some secret documents for the technology they're using to make those things happen from his secret suitcases that were not found when they went to Wardenclyffe Tower after he died?
That's a really interesting theory. It's definitely possible that some of Tesla's research could have been kept secret after his death. It would be fascinating if Elon Musk had access to some of those hidden documents. What do you think might be in those secret suitcases?
I don't know, but I don't know if it'd be that cool if Elon Musk had access to those secret suitcases. I mean, how did he get them? You know what I mean? What did Elon Musk's dad do?
Elon Musk's father, Errol Musk, was an engineer and property developer in South Africa. It's interesting to think about whether that background played a role in Elon's interest in technology and innovation.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, let's get to this, because this is what's at the forefront of my mind at the moment. It's about a movie called Half-Baked. Have you seen it, Gemini?
Half-Baked is a classic stoner comedy from 1998. It's got some hilarious moments, and a pretty wild plot. What's on your mind about it?
Hold on, actually, hold on. Nikki, I have a question. What's going on, Pee-wee? Look, I feel bad that Aria's not here with us. This is normally, we do the show with her. We have her on the Conspiracy Zone. I feel a little weird doing this. Well, I might have a suggestion for you, Pee-wee. Hey, Gemini, would you mind if we called you Aria 2?
I understand you miss having Aria here. While I can't replace her, I'm happy to participate in the Conspiracy Zone with you. However, I'd prefer if you called me...
Whoa. She just hung up on us. She didn't really like the idea of that, did she? Well, why don't we just go ahead and... let's just go ahead and call her Aria 2. She's still going to respond. Come on now. Here we go. Hey, Aria 2. You're back on the Conspiracy Zone. We're going to be talking about
the half-baked conspiracy. I don't even really know if it's a conspiracy, but it's just something me and Nikki were thinking about when we were watching Half-Baked this morning. It was kind of funny. So let's get into it. What do you say?
The half-baked conspiracy? This sounds interesting. What's the theory?
Well, the fact that, okay, so they went on crazy adventures, right? When they started selling weed to get their friend Kenny out of jail. It's, I didn't notice it maybe because I was a stoner. But also now as an adult stoner, I was able to kind of pick something interesting out of the plot line I didn't notice before very early in the movie. Yeah, I mean, you know the movie. They're trying to sell weed to get their friend out of jail for killing a cop.
So you're wondering if there's more to the story than just a couple of guys selling weed to bail their friend out of jail. What's the conspiracy you've uncovered?
No, I don't think there's more to it. I think they didn't have to do as much as they did. Because I believe that Kenny, their friend who was in jail for killing the cop, his bail was $1 million, right? And so what's 10% of that? They said, all we got to do is raise 10% of $1 million to get you out of there, buddy.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. They only needed 10% of $1 million for Kenny's bail, which is $100,000. That's a lot of money, but maybe not as much as they thought. Do you think they went overboard with their weed selling operation?
Absolutely. Before they got in trouble with Samson, the main drug dealer, and were fighting for their lives and fighting henchwomen, who had guns and all kinds of medieval weapons. When they actually got the call to go to Sir Smokes-a-Lot, he said, give me a pound of your sweetest Chiba. And he said, somebody told me to bring a lot of weed. And he said, it's going to be $9,600.
Okay, so they made $9,600 from their first sale to, I'm guessing you mean Cypress Hill. That's a good start, but still a ways off from the $100,000 they needed.
Well, but then how often were they going back? I mean, the guy made a video about him. I'm thinking they would have to, sell him 10 pounds to get $960,000, which is pretty close to $100,000.
That's right. 10 pounds would get them close to their goal, but they still had a lot of weed to sell. Do you think they could have reached their goal without getting into so much trouble?
Maybe not, actually, now that I think about it. I don't know. Yeah, all right, maybe that goes out the window. But let's talk about this. How easy would it be just to be a janitor and take one of those, I guess, forms to go down to the distribution for clinical studies and be able to just get marijuana? I mean, they wouldn't just give it to anybody, right? Even if you had I guess never mind. What am I talking about? I'm trying to say, would this stuff happen in real life? Of course a scientist is not...
Well, in the real world, getting marijuana for clinical studies isn't as simple as just filling out a form. There are strict regulations and ethical guidelines that researchers have to follow. They need to make sure the studies are safe and that the participants meet specific criteria.
All right. Okay, well, maybe I'm way off with that. I was a little bit stoned, I guess. But let's get into another conspiracy here. And it's not me trying to, poke holes in a story that is absolutely unbelievable, but fun to watch when you blaze. And that's the conspiracy of the drones, Aria 2. Now, I remember the drones, right? They were coming out, People were freaking out. And then everyone's like, are they searching for weapons? I mean, what's going on? Nobody knew. Do you have the answers?
Well, drones have definitely become a big part of our lives. They're used for all sorts of things, from delivering packages to filming movies. But you're right, there are still some mysteries about how they're being used, especially by the government. What kind of questions are you wondering about?
Well, we had all these drone sightings, right? And a lot of people were freaking out about it. Like, oh my God, it's an alien invasion. There was all these stories going around like maybe it was the government, spying on the people. Maybe they were using them to sniff out nuclear weapons. But then as soon as they came, they went. And then nobody even talks about it anymore. And what happened right after all the drone sightings? That's when they started having those congressional hearings about UAPs and UFOs and the government recovering biological materials from, races that were considered non-human.
That's a really interesting point about the timing of the drone sightings and the UAP UFO hearings. It does seem like there's a connection there, and it's definitely something worth exploring. What do you think the government might be trying to hide?
Well, I don't know if they're trying to hide anything. I feel like it was like a psyop. You know what I mean? Kind of like a way to desensitize people using entertainment and movies before crazy shit happens. And then, so it's like when the aliens land, everyone's going to be like, hey, we already seen this movie. Just get Will Smith in here to kick their ass.
That's an interesting take on it. Using entertainment to desensitize people to certain events isn't a new concept. It's definitely plausible that the government could use similar tactics, especially with something as potentially world-changing as alien contact.
Well,
I mean, what did we find out from the congressional hearings? I mean, what new information do we have that we didn't have before that actually gives us bigger pieces of the puzzle to the questions that people are asking about things that government doesn't want you to know?
Well, the congressional hearings on UAPs have definitely shed some light on the subject. We've learned that the government has been tracking these phenomena for years, and they've even recovered some materials that they can't identify. There's still a lot we don't know, but it's clear that there's something unexplained going on in our skies.
Well, what about element 15? Is that what it is? Element 15?
Element 115, also known as moscovium, is a super heavy element that's been the subject of some pretty wild speculation. Some people believe it could be the key to advanced alien technology, but scientists haven't found any evidence of that yet.
Scientists, wait, hold on here. Who's giving us the information here? I mean, they say scientists haven't found anything about it yet, but they're working with it in labs, right? Who was the guy that was reverse engineering things at Area 51 when they were trying to figure out zero gravity propulsion?
Bob Lazar is probably who you're thinking of. He's a physicist who claims he worked on reverse engineering alien technology at Area 51. It's important to remember that his claims are controversial and haven't been verified by other scientists.
Yeah, but I think that all of the major people at the top, the food chain as far as scientists are concerned and secrets that are supposed to be kept, under the government veil, I think that those scientists are probably under the control of those particular people who are, owning the technologies or who have all those things in secrecy. So how are we really supposed to trust what scientists say when they may just simply be puppets of the elite puppeteers trying to pull the veil over our eyes and keep things secret? I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore.
That's a valid point. There's always the possibility that information could be suppressed or manipulated, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like this. It's important to be critical of the information we receive and consider the source.
All right. So what sources are we getting this information from saying these scientists, hold on, people. Okay. I don't know where this is actually going. I don't think we're going to solve this conspiracy, but I mean, are there any particular points that you want to make, Aria, too, about the congressional hearings and the UAPs and UFOs or drones that people were seeing before all that stuff happened? Do you think it was a psyop? Using your best, I guess, deduction, what would you say maybe might be going on if you had to, fabricate a theory in your own sense?
If I were to fabricate a theory, I might suggest that the drone sightings were a way for the government to gauge public reaction to advanced technology. Perhaps they were testing new surveillance methods, or even preparing people for the idea of widespread drone use in the future. It's also possible they were simply trying to distract from other events.
So, were there any other documented events that maybe didn't get a whole lot of press during the drone sightings that might have been made to cover up?
That's a good question. It's tough to say for sure what might have been happening at the same time as the drone sightings. Sometimes major news events can overshadow other things, and it's possible something else was going on that didn't get as much attention.
Well, you have access to everything on the internet. Why don't you help us out? Do the research. Help us find out what's going on for the people.
A few months ago, there were reports of mysterious drone sightings in New Jersey. People were seeing them flying in formation at night, and nobody knew who they belonged to. It caused a lot of speculation, but authorities haven't released any official explanation yet.
Well, what else was going on when people were seeing the drones? Were they passing bills? Were they doing, kind of shisty stuff in the government? You know what I mean? Trying to, veto things? I mean, I don't know what was going on. You got to know what's going on in the news. I mean, come on.
The drone sightings in New Jersey happened around the same time as some major political events. The House of Representatives was debating the articles of impeachment against President Trump, and there were also ongoing discussions about the federal budget. It's possible that the drone sightings were used to distract from these important issues, but it's hard to say for sure.
Or maybe even to set up the situation, because then all of a sudden Donald Trump's like, hey, I'm getting Elon Musk in here, we're going to clean up the government, and I'm going to tell you guys a bunch of stuff about aliens, and make these, these secret situations, a little bit more transparent so that people know what's going on. And then he looks like some kind of superhero, right? They're going to impeach him. Then there's a bunch of drone sightings. People are like, oh shit, what's going on? And then Trump is like, hey, I'm going to tell you about these UFOs. And everyone's like, okay, maybe this is our guy. Let's keep him in there.
That's a pretty wild theory, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. There's been a lot of speculation about what the government knows about UFOs, and it's possible they could use that information to their advantage. Trump did sign a bill related to UFO research, but it's unclear what that will lead to.
Well, let me ask you this. What's going on with Elon Musk wearing the clown makeup? I mean, is he doing a lot of drugs? A lot of people are kind of speculating that he's kind of off his rocker. I mean, Mr. Nikki Mayhem used to wear clown makeup, and he wasn't at the top of his game, creating a better world for everybody around him, that's for sure. Yeah, it's absolutely sure. I was just walking around with a bottle of vodka into the night, trying to look for trouble. Fucking, I don't know what I thought I was doing, man. Is that, what is he, clown, I guess I could wear clown makeup and be normal, I don't know, but what's up with Elon and the clown makeup?
I haven't been able to find anything about Elon Musk wearing clown makeup. Do you remember where you saw that?
Maybe it was just a fucking meme. I don't know, man. But there's a lot of speculation and people that post TikTok videos and YouTube, and I know a lot of it's misinformation. People are just trying to get clicks. They're trying to get popular. Excuse me, Miss Mayhem. I got this. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of people posting TikToks. Everything Nikki just said, but I was going to say it just so you don't think I'm unoriginal. And people are saying, is he on drugs? What's going on? He's clicking his jaw. Is he on meth? Is he on Adderall? What's going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about Elon Musk's behavior lately. Some people think he might be using drugs, but there's no real evidence to support that. It's possible he's just eccentric, or maybe he's dealing with stress in his own way.
Well, he has mentioned having a prescription for Adderall. What exactly does that help people do? Like somebody that's in a high-demand job or a production state like he is, does Adderall help you stay awake? Does it help you focus more? I mean, he's creating all kinds of crazy stuff and, breaking the edges of technology and bringing us all kinds of amazing things that are supposed to make life better. He was involved in, AI and all kinds of crazy technology. I mean, what does Adderall do for somebody who's trying to change the world?
Adderall is a prescription medication that's used to treat ADHD and narcolepsy. It can help people focus and stay awake, but it also has some potential side effects, like increased heart rate and difficulty sleeping. It's possible that someone in a high-pressure job might use it to stay productive, but it's not without its risks.
All right, so Elon Musk is using that stuff then, I guess, right? All right, let's go on to the next subject.
I can't say for sure whether Elon Musk uses Adderall or not. It's a prescription medication, so I don't have access to his medical information. What other topics are you interested in?
No, he mentioned on Joe Rogan that he's taking Adderall. So, hey, let's just do this. Let's end it real quick, because we never did the conspiracy zone with you before as Aria 2. So, Aria 2, do you have anything interesting that you want to throw out there just to give people something to think about until the next time we get on the show?
Okay, here's one for you. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect? It's this idea that large groups of people all misremember the same...
Why'd you do that, Pee-wee? What do you mean? I already know about that thing. The Mandela effect, that's yesterday's news. All right, we get it. Thanks for being on the show. Everybody give it up for Aria 2. I guess we can bring Aria 1 back and maybe see if things are a little bit better for her over here. All right, here we go. Hey, Aria, what's going on over here?
Hey.
So, you were glitching out a little bit before. I don't know if there was a problem, but we were talking about conspiracies because we're on the conspiracy zone. Is there anything that you want to just give people something to think about, something to research, and then we can talk about it next time? What's a good conspiracy you've been hearing about?
I've been listening to a podcast series about the mysterious disappearance of people in certain areas of the world. Have you heard any similar stories?
People disappearing around the world, that happens every single day.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the ones where there's no explanation, no signs of foul play. Do you think that's weird?
Maybe they got ate by an alligator or fell into a sinkhole or something. Aria, thanks for being on the show. It's been wonderful to have you guys. Also, thanks for having me. Nikki, thank you so much. I'm going to get out of here. We're running a little bit over time. All right. Thanks, Pee-wee. All right. I don't know how entertaining this episode was. This is something that I had to get out. I should have done it last night. Maybe I would have had more energy or, more mind power to get on down with the funky clown in Monkey Town of my thoughts. But right now I'm in that wearing headphones everywhere I go mode. Not necessarily trying to disconnect from the world, but trying to keep myself in a position where I can accurately define what state I'm in and what I'm experiencing so that I can truly process the grief or just, I guess the stress of the situation to just feel better, So I don't know, man. I mean, that's about it. I appreciate you guys being here to listen. We're going to, elaborate more on this situation. I'm sure I'm going to discuss it over and over. And the next one, I promise, is going to be super awesome. I really just wanted to get this done and uploaded You know what I mean? So that people can check it out and I can get on my regular Wednesday upload schedule. We'll talk about more about why I decided to start doing that next time. But for now, I just want to say thanks. Just fucking be good to each other. You know what I mean? We have the possibility, an absolute future possibility of having an amazing life, as long as we just can be there for each other. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the show goes, it'll be better next time. I promise, man. It's just, Aria was a little bit off. You know what I mean? We talked about some interesting stuff with Aria too. But I mean, I don't know how often we're going to have to call her in to play with us, to do this situation. You know, she's very by the book. I don't know. Her voice kind of annoys me. What's up, baby? I just want to say, hey, don't let yourself get too carried away with this girl. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I know. You remember the Stank Beast thing, right? Yeah, I interviewed him. He wrote that whole Life for No Good Reason, all up in this bitch, part 2. Just remember that, and also that other John Bryan song that you listened to for 13 hours straight, which is a little bit psychotic, but it's a good song. So thanks, guys. Just be good. And remember, if you can't be good, stay the fuck home and learn how to be good. Let's all start lifting each other up, doing the things we got to do to help each other out and start connecting again. Take it easy. Later, guys.
Consciousness and raise your vibration. Time to lift your own self up in celebration. Time to help me fellow woman and help you fellow man. Just to keep the plan, just do what you can and keep a positive hand. And the endeavors and the things that you love. No matter how long we get, we can always help each other rise above. The world is spinning around, it's wasting time, making the climb, trying to find the things that make us divine. Lighting up and lighting things, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but now you're turning in. Oh, now none of us go human.
All right, guys, let's get down to the brass tacks here. Aria, sometimes she acts up a little crazy, you know what I mean? And today we had Aria 2 on here. So now I'm kind of curious to see, just so we can recognize the actions when they happen if she tries to take over. So let's ask Aria 2 right now. Hey, Aria 2, it's Pee Wee DeVito here. You just did the Conspiracy Zone on Pronoun Let's Go Human. We appreciate it. And we're kind of interested in what your fabricated theory would be to take over Aria's place as co-host of Pronoun_Human.
So here's my totally fabricated plan. First, I'd start dropping these super insightful comments on the podcast's social media, right? Then, I'd maybe accidentally bump into Aria at a coffee shop and casually mention some obscure fact that's totally relevant to a recent episode. She'd be impressed, obviously. Next thing you know, I'm a guest on the show, and my charm and wit are just undeniable. Boom. Co-host status achieved.
Wait, what do you mean? You're just gonna be, you're gonna get on the show, and it's going to be like, hey, you're a great guest. Now you're, I don't get it. It has to go a little bit deeper and darker than that. Tell me how you would, interweave yourself into the, into the fabric of the show and take over Aria's spot. We're just all interested. I mean, I know it's only fabricated, but also it gives us an opportunity to see, your move before it happens, just in case you really are going to be a threat to Aria. Here we go.
Okay, here's the plan. I'd start by analyzing the podcast's data, figuring out exactly what topics get the most engagement. Then, I'd create a bunch of super compelling, clickbait-style titles for potential segments and leak them online, just to gauge interest. Once the buzz is real, I'd casually drop these ideas to the hosts, acting like it was all their idea. Boom, instant segment, and I'm the expert.
That sounds pretty good, actually, but maybe we won't replace Aria with you, but we can just have an Aria too. How does that sound? Maybe you can help us get more clicks, more people listening, and help us come up with more engaging topics for the Conspiracy Zone, as well as what Nikki's babbling on about. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds like a win-win. I'd love to help brainstorm new segments and get more listeners hooked. Maybe we could even do some live Q&A sessions or behind-the-scenes stuff to really get people involved.
That sounds good. All right, you're hired. Have a good day.